Adam Stroup here today on the program. RFA 43 coming up here September 9th. This one's in Broomsfield, Colorado, so relatively close to home for you. It's training over there at Factory X. You got Gabriel Checco as your opponent, 9-2 versus your 10-3, so relatively close.
Right.
For the folks at home that are brand new to MMA, we have a lot of new fans every month now because the explosion of obviously the UFC and, of course, with Diaz and McGregor just fighting has now turned over. I actually saw a report that J-Lo and Casper Smart broke up because he went to the fights instead of going to some charity event, which is sensational. It's not true. They broke up, but it's not the reason why. But Casper just happened to be at the fights. But even a guy like that is like, hey, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So anyway, we're getting a lot of new fans because of that. A lot of fans don't know exactly how to break down a fight, like what happens for a competitor. So you and your coach sit down and look at tapes, and you analyze what your opponent's going to do. When you watch tapes, break down for me what you saw of Gabriel.
Well, from what I've seen, he'll throw strikes. He's kind of wild. You know, he's not really snappy. He looks like he has some power. But more than anything, I think he's going to feel like his advantage to fight me is going to be on the ground. I think he's going to want to take me down. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So he's going to want to, he's going to want to utilize those skills, I believe. And I think that he's, like I said, he's going to come out swinging some bombs, and he's going to try to take me down like they always do.
Well, being a Brazilian black belt or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt hasn't really equated for him in fights. Of his 9 wins, 5 are KOs and only 4 are submissions. So he's getting the KO, so he obviously believes in his striking power to be able to put people down. So you've obviously seen, like, he throws some strikes, you said, but he's not very snappy. He's kind of – but so how is he knocking these 5 guys out? How did he knock them out?
I would say he has some power. You know, he looks like he kind of bull rushes. And he hits. He's a southpaw, or traditionally, and he just kind of comes in barreling in, guns a-blazing. And sometimes with 4-ounce gloves, that works out.
Did you watch the fight with him and Jake Collier back in RFA 19?
Yeah.
And he actually lost that one and got submitted. So being a submission, a black belt in submission grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu doesn't necessarily mean it's good for MMA. The transfer doesn't necessarily always work.
Absolutely.
Will you be able to hang with him on the ground when it hits the ground? Because most fights end up hitting the ground at some point. Do you feel like you're going to be able to take advantage of that?
Absolutely. We're gonna, like Rampage said, play some no jitsu this time, and just try to avoid that if we can. And if we hit the mat, that's fine too. It's not like I've never been to the mat, and it's not like I'm worried about going there. But we want to keep the fight, where we like it, which is on the feet and throwing heavy leather.
There are, for the folks at home, of the 10 wins that Adam has, 3 are KOs, 5 submissions, and 2 decisions. And if you remember, I said, 5 knockouts and 4 submissions for Gabriel. He's never gone to a decision. He lost the decision, and he got beat by a submission. So that's on his 2 losses. So he's been in a decision 1 time, but lost it. In that decision loss, did you watch that one as well as part of your tape prep?
I haven't seen that one. I think you fought another jiu-jitsu guy, right?
He did. And it was very nullifying and not very much happened. And what ended up really losing him that fight was the fact that he ended up spending more time on his back than he did on top. And as a result, you can't win from your back unless you catch a submission. And so he ends up losing it. But there wasn't that much action. He wasn't really pushed as far as pace and heart rate goes. Are you going to push the pace with this guy to make sure that he falls apart? Because obviously you're trained in Colorado. You're used to the altitude everyone talks about. Up there, you've been living in there for years, so it's not like it's, I just did a train camp here and it could fade on me. Are you going to be able to push the pace on this guy to make him kind of, make him tired? You're trying to...
Absolutely. That's the plan from the gate is to make him work. He's going to shoot for the takedown. We know that. And if we can stuff it, you stuff a couple of those, make him pay for it with punches, kicks, things like that, knees. And then, just push the pace on him and really test that cardio.
We talked about earlier, you've only lost 3 fights total. Your first fight you lost way back in 2012 and then went on an incredible run streak. Like you 3, 6, 9 fights I think you won in a row? 8 fights in a row? Yeah. I mean, you were crushing it and then ran into Corey DeVille and lost a decision. Unanimous decision, kind of got handled on that one, but came back strong against Charlie Brown, which, to be honest with you, I thought Charlie Brown was going to be a little bit much for you, but you ended up catching him with a submission in the second round. Take us through John Poppy. Take us through the John Poppy loss. That one.
Oh man.
I thought that fight was going to be a lot closer than what actually happened. So what was going on with you during that fight?
To be honest, man, I mean, I don't know what to say about that fight because I feel like he just kind of grabbed my ankles. You know what I mean? Like he got me down in the first round, and that was fine, whatever. And then after that, he was literally holding on to my ankles. You know what I mean? And when I go into a fight, I don't think that I'm going to win by decision. I don't try to win on the scorecards. I want to leave somebody face down on the mat. You know, I want to fight. For him to hold on to me like that is just it's my fault at the end of the day. I need to defend that. I need to get at that. But I need to lose that way. You know, if he would have whooped my ass, he would have whooped my ass. That's one thing. But he didn't. He didn't do anything to me. And it's really hard to deal with.
How do you feel the judging was during that fight? Do you think the judging was fair and that you can understand why they picked John to win the fight?
Well, I went for a guillotine choke at the end. He rolled out of it with like a minute to go, and then had my back, and I couldn't fight his hands off. Had I been able to get to my feet, I think I would have won. So it literally came down to a minute fight, you know what I mean? And so do I really feel like I lost? Do I feel like he whooped my ass? No way. Did he beat me for a minute of the fight at the end? Sure. Have it, you know. But you didn't whoop my ass, no way.
What was the takeaway then from that fight? Like there's got to be a positive takeaway from this. You got to learn. What's the lesson learned in this one? Where you're like, okay, I could have won this fight, but that 1 minute beat me up, and then this is what I got to fix.
You know, more than anything, the wrestling. I wrestled as a kid, and that's what I struggle with the most. I've been working on it a lot since then. But again, you know, if you're going to fight a guy and he's going to hold your ankles, you know, it's like that's hard for me to deal with. When we train in the gym, we fight. You know. We throw punches, kicks. There's obviously takedowns. There's obviously jiu-jitsu. But I've never dealt with a guy that just content was literally holding onto my leg. You know.
Yeah. Okay. And it's going to be a tough one. And then honestly, this I just want to figure out your mental capacity. You know, going through the process of the loss, like that was the fight. It was not the same. It was not the same. You're not going to have it. Slowing the pace down. That's what John wanted. John wanted to slow the pace down and keep from getting clipped. And he knew that your power was going to be heavy. And he didn't want to make it a grappling match. He wanted to make it a wrestling match, and that's what he did. So he was able to push his will on you, and as a result, you take the decision loss. But now you're moving on. This fight with Gabriel, I think, is a really, really good fight, exciting fight, and going to be a fight that's going to test you, but very, I don't want to say easy because no fight is easy because you're fighting. You know, anything can happen. But I think it's a fight that's very winnable for you.
Thank you. What do you think about his jiu-jitsu skills overall and his overall game? You know, he's pretty tough. But.
Yeah, he's a tough character, all-around character, but he tends to want to get in a striking match more than try to make jiu-jitsu his forte, even though jiu-jitsu is his forte. He tends to want to be a striker, and his striking, it's not pinpoint, like you said. He's not going to find the sweet science and dig you in the gut and make you drop your hands and come over the top, and he's not picking around your gloves. He's really one of those guys that just kind of plants his feet and throws hard and hits a lot of guys and knocks them down. I don't think he's faced competition like you. Up to this point. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fight pans out because you can take a punch a lot better than most of his opponents have. So you're going to throw that big haymaker punch, he's going to catch you with it, and you're going to shake it off and keep coming forward. And most guys would either back up or, best case scenario for him, fall down. So, and I don't think that's going to happen with you. So I'm interested to see how this fight pans out. I want to see how Adam has been after the Poppy fight. That's what I'm looking at. I want to see what Stroup shows up.
Right. Well, it's going to be we're going hard, that's for sure.
All right, Adam. Thanks so much for coming on here, man. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your training camp. I've been looking forward to watch this fight on September 9th.
Thanks, Frank. I appreciate it.